Alright guys, it's here, the Spyderco Delica Wharncliffe. The Delica, of course, is one of the probably most popular EDC knives of all times. You know why? Because it's relatively inexpensive. It's expensive to a lot of people, but affordable for anyone who can save up. It's small, with a decent blade length, ergonomic, lightweight, good traction on the handle, good quality control out of Spyderco. Everything people expect out of a good EDC, and also VG10, which is a really good steal for the money. So when you have that, and that winning formula, why not apply it to other blade shapes? And the interesting thing about this knife is it was actually born out of a forum post. Someone was asking, hey, does Spyderco make a Wharncliffe? And, you know, Sal Glasser, the founder of Spyderco, actually got involved in the conversation, and next thing you know, bada bing, bada boom, we have a Wharncliffe Delica that is in mass production. So I had to have this thing. I am a huge fan of the Wharncliffe for EDC, and yeah, it's a really great blade design and profile for EDC use, and you know, you get everything that you get with the Delica with this knife. So real quick, typical FRN handle, lockback design, pocket clip, spidey hole opening, that bi-directional texturing on here, which is actually pretty cool. This is a Japanese-made Spyderco, by the way. Opening, very slick, and I haven't even had to mess with it. As typical with Spydercos, you know, this thing just zips open out of the box. Didn't have to lube it, clean it, or nothing. Exactly what I expected. You can see this thing's pretty dirty. I've been using this thing as hard as I can. Beautiful blade retention, that is not going anywhere. Nice, slim, compact, fits in the pocket well, disappears, lightweight. You know, partridge in a pear tree, guys. This thing is just absolutely dynamite. So, for a second, let's talk about the Wharncliffe. And I got into this a little bit with my my Kershaw Dividend review, because that's also a Wharncliffe blade. Now, this design to me is very good, because when I look at what I use my knife for EDC, real EDC, not the pretend internet commando stuff, but real EDC is typically breaking down recycling, opening boxes, opening mail, occasionally maybe cutting some rope or some string, you know, stuff like that. You know, in the summertime, of course, there's a lot more garden use, and being middle of winter, we can't really put that to the test. But yeah, aside from that, you know, like, let's be honest, most EDC use is going to be those kind of things. And when you're doing those kind of actions, opening things, breaking down boxes, your typical, most common used cut is that draw cut using the tip. And that Wharncliffe has that beautiful, pointy, very thin, sharp tip, which makes this knife very good for that kind of action. Breaking down cardboard, opening boxes. You know, when you're trying to open one but not cut the contents underneath, you can get that finger on the tip and zoop, open it like a zipper. You know, you can choke up on the blade, use it for fine cutting, digging, all that stuff. It's pretty thin tip, so I wouldn't dig really with it. But yeah, that draw cut ability, and plus being the handle is, you know, not at a weird angle. Lots of times Wharncliffes have those weird angles to them. You don't have to. You can actually cut at a very low angle. So if you are looking to go in there to cut something, you don't need a ton of room to make that cut. Whereas a lot of those have that weird handle where you have to be up here. And that is the downfall of the spear point and the drop point, is if you do want to make those tip cuts, you have to have your hand way up. So if you are in a tight space, you have to do that. You don't have to do that with this. You can get right in there, make those cuts at a very, very low angle, which is kind of awesome. The other thing, you know, the flat blade, very, very easy to sharpen this thing. No skill whatsoever. Just, you know, get it down, find the angle, and just whoop. You know, no lifting, turning, anything like that. This is a really good EDC for a beginner, because it will be so much easier to sharpen with that flat edge. The flat edge also provides you the ability to make cuts at the end. So if you're at the end of a countertop and you're looking to cut something or dice something, you can do that from the end and you have that nice flat blade. Now, belly of the blade, sure, it makes for great slicing, but at the same time, when you are trying to slice things that are round, like cucumbers and carrots and things like that, that belly requires that you know, use a sawing motion where you can actually kind of use this, you know, provided your handle's not in the way. You know, if you're on the edge of a table, you can actually kind of use this for chopping, which is kind of cool for those who use their knives daily for food prep. There's just a lot of interesting combinations with this knife that you can use it for. And for me, they work for me. And guys, your routine, your stuff may be completely different from mine, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying this is really in tune with my EDC. Oftentimes, you know, I really don't need that belly of the blade for EDC. It's very rare I find I need it. It's very, you know, in fact, this right here has met every single need I've had carrying this thing for, you know, since I took the dividend out of my pocket, which is kind of awesome. You know, normally, like, you know, I look at those knives that take another knife out of the pocket, and those are usually good knives. So this thing has been used very heavily, guys. I'm going to point out, I actually just broke down a whole bunch of recycling. Tomorrow is recycling day. I've done a bunch of other work with it. I've been just everything I can cut with this, I'm cutting with it. So we have some cardboard here left over from, let's see, position this camera a little better. And we're going to do this against the grain, guys. A lot of people cut with the grain. Nah, that's cheating. So this is a relatively dull blade, guys, because like I said, I've been using it. So, as you can see, it no longer shaves a little hair. But this is no longer the laser sharp knife that it started out as. This has been used. So what I want to show you is, and this is how your knife is going to be 90% of the time anyway. I know in theory we're all going to have like just laser sharp knives, but after any good amount of work, they're not going to shave hair perfectly anymore. You know, it doesn't take much. Just cutting up some cardboard, some rope, things like that can really wear these things down. So even with an edge that's got some use and some wear on it, this thing still just slices through this like it's nothing. I mean, look at that. You can tell because there is some wear on this. I can feel a couple places where that knife is catching. So obviously there's some dull spots on the edge, and you've probably seen it, you know, as I've been doing it. But even going across the grain, this still leaves really, really smooth cuts, and that's, you know, the benefit of having a very nice thin blade. I mean, you don't need the belly to cut cardboard. You don't need it to do all that stuff. This is perfectly capable, and it will make but yeah, guys, this thing will do a number. It will absolutely do a number. It's really good, and the blade profile is just really good. This thing just lends itself